Recording in progress.
Good morning. Today is October 1st. We are here today to provide the most recent updates as it relates to Buncombe County's response to Hurricane Helene. My name is Stacy Wood. I'm a public information officer here with Buncombe County government. And today we have several guests with us who are able to provide a status update from their various organizations. We have County Manager Avril Pender with us today. We have Savannah Parrish with the town of Montreat, and we have Chancellor Kimberly Van Noort with UNC Asheville. We'll get started with remarks from County Manager Pender.
Thank you, Stacy. Good morning. It's 10 a.m. on Tuesday, October 1st, and here's the latest update as we have it. Overnight, I-40 east out of Buncombe County to McDowell County is open. Thanks to those individuals and groups who did amazing work. Please check drivenc.gov for real-time road conditions when you're driving. Our 4 distribution sites are open again today at WSD's Elementary School, 275 Overlook Road in Asheville, Sandhill Elementary, 154 Sandhill School Road in Asheville. Please enter from the Acton Circle Drive. North Windy Ridge Elementary School, 20 Dawn Road in Weaverville. Fairview Elementary School, 1355 Charlotte Highway. As we get, our goal is to cover our county broadly, but we know that as supplies come in, we can then grow that. But right now, our focus is on stabilizing those 4 sites. We are beginning to distribute water at these 4 locations as it becomes available. To start, I apologize. We are beginning to distribute food at these 4 locations as it becomes available. To start, these are mostly meals ready to eat or MREs. So there will be food available as it becomes available. We will distribute food and they'll be in the form of MREs. We only have potable water from tankers. So if you are going to these sites, please bring containers that you can fill. The city of Asheville is also distributing water at Pat Square Park. Bring containers. We're also starting to mobilize staff to send supplies out to isolated areas and hard to reach areas. We're grateful to have Rural Central Kitchen here providing meals to the community. There are just one of the many community organizations who are helping to do everything they can to help connect our people to resources. We've also been hearing how our breweries are providing water, and those are the types of actions that make Buncombe County so special. One rumor that we're hearing is there's a food trailer at the Ag Center. That is not true. There's not a food trailer at the Ag Center. We're still very much in active search and rescue. We're reaching out and trying to find those individuals who have still trapped in their homes. We are also doing active recovery. And right now, I cannot provide an update beyond the 40 communities the 40 members of our community that we lost that I gave you last night. So as of right now, I'm still only confirming that there are 40 loss of lives in Buncombe County. We know that it's important for our community to know the names of these loved ones who we have lost. And we're working to get that to you. And hopefully we can give you that update soon. Yesterday, our volunteers with the Register of Deeds knocked on more than 300 doors to do wellness checks on community members whose loved ones have reported that they haven't heard from them or asked us to check on. And now I'd like to introduce Savannah Parrish from Montreat, the town manager of Montreat, for an update about that community. Savannah?
Good morning. Thank you, Avril. I'll be brief. I do have an update from Montreat. We were devastated by this storm. Our infrastructure is slowly being repaired by our Public Works Department. We do have 3 bridges now that were damaged in the storm that are now passable. Shenandoah Bridge, Lookout Road Bridge are both passable. Montreat College has been evacuated. No students remain on campus. And if members of the community are able to leave safely, if they have gas in their vehicles and somewhere to go, we are encouraging them to leave the community if they're able to do so safely. One rumor I want to address that we are hearing in the community is that Lake Susan Dam was breached. Lake Susan Dam was not breached. Water was coming over the spillway, but it did operate as engineered, and it remains structurally sound to the best of our knowledge at this time. I have no update on when we will have water restored to the community. We had hundreds of feet of water line that is damaged, and we are currently making our way up Graybeard Road, which was completely washed out. So that's just slow going. We hope to have water restored as soon as possible, but no solid update on that right now. We do have bottled water, and we are distributing that at the Montreat gate from 10 this morning until 2 this afternoon. And we have bottles and gallons available there. Parts of Black Mountain, the power has been restored. We're so grateful for that. That will certainly make our efforts easier as we continue to clean up Montreat, and appreciate all of the help from emergency management and the county so far. And that's all I have.
Thank you for that update, Savannah. Next, we have Chancellor Kimberly Van Noort here to provide updates from UNC Asheville.
Thank you so much. I'm Kimberly Van Noort, the Chancellor at UNC Asheville, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. I want to first say that we at UNC Asheville and the entire UNC system school stand with the people out here of Western North Carolina. This is an enormous challenge, and I am heartened that we see the pulling together that we have seen. Since Friday morning, UNC Asheville has been without electricity, running water, or internet. However, we do have minimal structural damage to the campus, many trees down and many access points blocked, but that infrastructure is improving daily. Cellular communications have been very limited and are slowly returning. The student safety and well-being is always our primary concern. Prior to the storm, we had over 1,600 residential students on campus. There were approximately 1,300 of them at the time that the storm hit. Some of them were able to leave. These students remained housed in their residence halls, and we provided them daily with water, 3 meals, and support services. This has been a tremendous undertaking by our staff, but we weren't alone. We've had tremendous support from many of our UNC colleagues who have finally been able to reach us as access to the region has improved. We've also been very careful to be accountable for each and every student who's on campus, knowing where they are and what their needs are. Because of conditions on campus and in the Western North Carolina region in general, we have assisted all students residing on campus to find options for relocation to safe locations off campus. These efforts included helping students to identify safe routes, creating and connecting carpools, providing students with gasoline for their cars, and relocating a very small number of students to another UNC system institution. Within 72 hours, all UNC Asheville students were relocated away from campus. These students have also received information about the availability of clinical and mental health services at any UNC institution near their current location. We really want to thank very much the UNC system, the system office, and our sister institutions who have provided many services: North Carolina A&T State University, Winston-Salem, North Carolina Central, NC State, UNC Charlotte, UNC Wilmington. The list goes on and on. Our status is currently status of closed, and we have suspended all traditional university operations. We are prioritizing campus services for essential university personnel, for damage assistance and recovery, and also support for first responders and state and federal officials. Non-mandatory employees are asked not to report to the campus at this time, and more information will be forthcoming. We have sent all of our employees information about support resources and ways that we can be of help. However, please understand that closed means closed. We still have unsafe conditions on campus and a need to dedicate all of our resources to our recovery efforts. UNC Asheville's academic operations will be closed for the immediate future, but we are not done for the semester. We are beginning academic planning this morning in order to ascertain when we will be able to resume instruction and that learning environment our students need. Very much more information very, very soon as our assessments continue. We look forward to welcoming our Bulldogs home and to helping the community at large recover from this horrendous disaster. Thank you.
Thank you for those updates. At this time, we will open the briefing up to questions from our partners from the media who are on the Zoom call. You can unmute or type your questions into the chat.
I've got a question for you. Charles Press from WLOS News 13. My question is about water, not the distribution of drinking water. I'm talking about the water that comes out of the North Fork Reservoir. We've been told water will be returned to normal as soon as possible, but what does that mean? Mayor Mannheimer said, I believe 2 days ago, that water will be interrupted, or you shouldn't expect to get it back for, quote, several weeks. Now, 20 months ago, this city suffered a catastrophic water failure. That was followed by a study focused on assessing, repairing, and replacing pipes that needed to be replaced. So what happened? Why are we in this situation? And can we get an honest assessment of what's happening right now and a timetable for when water should flow again?
Charles, thank you for that question. I will also advise you to contact the city of Asheville for water-related questions, as it is the city's water system. County Manager Pender, would you like to add to that?
Before you add
I
to
would
it,
say, Charles,
let me
I would
bring
say
up
the mayor was,
part of,
Charles?
pardon me, part of that study was to make sure that the city and the county would act in concert in the future and that there wouldn't be these communication disconnects. Go ahead.
Charles, the mayor was with us yesterday and her water team, and they have fully addressed the extent of the damage that we had at Norfolk. And they will be with us again tomorrow. And we would let them hear this question, and hopefully they will bring an answer for you. But they were clear, and we have been working together. So I want to dispel any rumors that there's any gaps in communication here. We have been clear that because of the volume of water and the water from Helene, it did wash out sections of the pipe. Since 2004, it happened, and there have been some redundancy lines that are also put in to make sure that it won't happen again. And those lines are also washed out. So please remember that this was a once in a generational storm that happened here in the Western North Carolina. And I cannot say enough about the folks at the city. They have been working nonstop. Their EOC was stood up the same time ours was stood up, and they have been working on that water issue. So I don't want anyone to leave here thinking that the city has not been at the table. They have not been fully invested in trying to bring water back to our community. But these things take time. And I cannot stress that enough.
And that's good to know. But for folks out there, parents out there who need to make sure that their kids are living in hygienic situations, that water is going to flow again, is there any kind of a timetable or any suggestions that some other group's going to come in, the Army Corps of Engineers, something to make sure this situation is amended as soon as possible?
They have been talking to the Army Corps of Engineers, and they also mentioned that, like last night on the 4 o'clock briefing, they mentioned that they have been working with the local water people that fix engineers and water repair companies. And they named 3 or 4 of those companies last night, and they have been working with those companies as well. So yes, all resources have come to bear to make sure that we can address the system for the long term.
Okay, we'll look forward to more on a timetable from you and the city as well. Thank you.
Ms. Pender, this is John Boyle with Asheville Watchdog. While you're there, I had an email from the state wanting clarification on water deliveries. They are insistent that water was shipped on the 27th and the 28th. They did not say when it arrived. When we talked yesterday, from what you had said and the city had said, these were the first deliveries we were getting was 3 days
That is correct.
later. Can
That is
you
correct. Go ahead, John.
address that, please?
You broke up on me a little bit there, John. Can you ask the bottom? I heard you say
Okay.
that the state said,
Yeah,
I
is
heard
there,
you-
there seems to be a miscommunication here. Yeah, not having
I
great
heard you said
connectivity.
that.
The, I'm sorry, the state said
John, let me repeat what
the,
I think I heard you say. I'll repeat what I think I heard you said, John, and then if I got it wrong. You said you got an email
Okay.
from the state that water was delivered on the 27th and water was shipped on the 27th and the 28th. And what I reported to you along with the city, that the first shipment of water to Buncombe County was received on Sunday. And that is correct, or at 2:30 in the morning, Sunday or Monday. But it was about 2 or 3 days before that water did get to Buncombe County. Water was
Okay,
flowing. We did get water, we delivered to Asheville Airport. And when we thought that because it was at Asheville Airport, it was water for Buncombe County. But we were told that we were a distribution hub and that water did not actually belong to Buncombe County. So the first water that we received from Buncombe County, we got it at 2:30 a.m. I believe that was Monday morning. So we were saying Sunday night, but it was 2:30, so Sunday night, Monday morning. And we redeployed that water to our community. You also heard the city manager mention yesterday that they bought private water to make sure that our community had water for distribution. The county also joined in that, and we also bought water privately for distribution. So we have been trying to make sure that distribution was covered, but we now have received water from the state and we have deployed that water as well. We've talked with the state and they're telling us that water will come on a more consistent basis and we can continue to keep our sites open. And that's why you have a smaller footprint, because we want to make sure if we open up many sites and our resident shows up at many sites, we want to make sure there's water there. So there are 4 sites open up in the county and 1 in the city. We know we have a stream of water for that. And as the state water continues to show up, then we can open up and expand that footprint.
thank you. That's very helpful. My understanding, there was some kind of a bureaucratic snafu, so to speak, on the state end. Can you speak to that?
Bureaucratic snafu.
On the
John,
state
we're having
end.
a really hard time hearing your questions.
Okay, let me put it in the chat.
Please just type them in the chat, John. We'll move on to the next question.
Hello, this is Andy Rose with CNN. And I was wanting to know a little bit more about the current situation with the unaccounted for residents. The last we'd heard the number could be as high as 600 unaccounted for. Is that an accurate estimate of where things stand now?
I don't have that estimate. I'm not sure where that number is coming from. What you heard from our register of deeds is we open up and told any and everyone that lives out of the county, and you wanted to make sure that since we had no cell service, if you wanted to make sure, you can let us know. And that's where that large number coming from, because people could not connect with loved ones in our community. We have taken that list and we have prioritized, we got that list, and we told you last time it was about 150 people that had high needs, and we were going to check on those. We checked on those and we went and we even checked on more than that. We've been going door to door, making sure that we can put eyes on people and see if they're safe. And that's what we've been doing. So I couldn't tell you what the number is that is unaccounted for, but we've just told anyone that it lives outside of Buncombe County, send us a name, a phone number, email, or an address, and we would go check on those people. And so far we've been doing that, but I don't have a number to tell you how much is unaccounted for.
Have you been able to see all the people that you've gone out to do well checks on? Is there anyone who you weren't able to find?
Not at this point. We were able to put eyes or knock on doors and people responded and answers so far as we've gone out.
Thank you. And one more quick question. When you speak of doing active recovery, does that mean that you have locations where you know there are deceased victims, but you have not been able to reach the remains yet?
No, what that means is we know there are places that are still hard to access. There's still trees down our lines, power lines down our water is still moving rather rapidly. So we've been strategic in trying to get out to those neighbors now. We have helicopter support, and we've been trying to fly into areas that we cannot go by foot or by boat or by car. So that's what that means, that we're still in active recovery because we're now getting to places that we haven't gotten to before.
Hi, it's Laura Lee at Blue Ridge Public Radio. I wanted to drop back into get some clarification on the food distribution. So you said there will be MREs at all 4 of the county sites starting today?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is the allocation? Is it the same as the water on a per person basis for the household?
Yes, ma'am.
And one other question that we had was about medication. Where can people who need to access medications or need to access ICE for medication locate those things?
We have been working with different pharmacies in town to see what their supplies look like, but we don't have an answer of how they can access medication. As far as ICE, we do have a supplier that is bringing ICE to the community. They're coming from the East Coast of North Carolina. We have lots of volunteers that are coming, but he told us that he can get some ICE to us. So that will be the first supply of ICE that we'll be receiving coming into Western North Carolina. As soon as ICE gets here, we'll also deploy it to our sites and people that need it, especially folks with diabetic or stuff that need to put medicine on ice. We would have that available to them.
This is Zenabu Silla with CNN. We've been in touch with a woman in Asheville who described how she clung to her roof and lost her family members in the floodwaters before she was rescued. Is there anyone from the sheriff's office that can share with us any information about her rescue or any search efforts for her missing family members?
We would ask the sheriff if he can join us this afternoon. He and his team has been out in our community this morning, so we would see if he can be available this afternoon to answer some of those questions.
And I guess what time or where should we possibly expect the sheriff's office to join you guys?
Our cadence has been 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. So if the sheriff or anyone on his team is available, it'll be at the 4 p.m. briefing.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
It's Laura Lee again at BPR. I understand there's no specific timetable for restoration of water, but we have some questions about the implications of that for schools and for restaurants. Is it possible that without full restoration of water, schools would be able to go back with, supplemented water, and the same question for restaurants?
We would have the school systems, we'll ask that question and see if they're available as well to join us. When they were here last, they mentioned that they were closed. They didn't have a plan yet for when they can reopen, but we'll ask that specific question about supplemental water.
Okay, great. And in terms of yesterday, I believe you said there was a mobile distribution opportunity for people who are not able to get to the 4 sites of the city site. Can you give us an update on where that stands?
We were actually starting to plan on that yesterday. And once we get our 4 sites, I know that our community paramedics have been going out and delivering water. I would get an update and see how far they've received and if we've gotten any more responses. We are setting up a water between Swannanoa and Black Mountain that will be supported because I know that river is cut off on the other side of Swannanoa. That will be one of the other sites that we're working on. But I will get you more details on how far our team has gotten into our community.
And if there are people who need that mobile distribution, how do they access that?
Without cell phone coverage, that's been really hard. So we've been actually going out to them to see if we can find any pockets in our community that we can help assist with water. As I mentioned, we have some air support. So if we can't get to you via the roadway, we're having some air support where we can bring water in or bring some food into those communities. So I guess short answer to that question is we've been going out actively looking for these people because I know they don't have cell service to call in or get a message to us.
If they do have cell services,
Pardon?
where are they to call? They do have cell service. How are they to? Is there a place to request? I have cell service, but I'm not able to get water.
Got it. That number that they can call is 828-250-6650. You have a new number?
211. No.
9.
Or they can also.
Yeah, 911 for emergency if it's.
I guess my team is in the room telling you if it's an emergency, they can call 911. That is always the first response, but we also have the other number to 250-6650. Let me get back to you. There are people in the room shaking their head at me. Maybe that phone has been.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Is that phone number not good? I want to make sure we're putting out the best information.
That phone line is overwhelmed right now. So if it's an emergency situation, please call 911. We are trying to staff that phone line and take as many calls as possible. But if it's an emergency, please call 911.
Thank you. I'll put this out there too. We've been reaching out to staff and trying to get staff in that can help offload the staff that has been working, that has stayed here since Wednesday. We are trying to get more staff in. So if they're telling me that phone number now has been overwhelmed. So admin support is huge and we're trying to get staff in that can help support those numbers. We fully staff on 911 and we have the technology now that 911 can actually be answered in other counties. So that service is being up and very, very stable at this point in time. The admin's piece for us and staff coming in to relieve admin, trying to get them here has been a challenge, as you all know. So we're working to get more staff in and more staff across the state has been coming in to trying to get those to come in to help us as well.
And thank you for that. One last question. Are there any coordinated efforts in terms of getting people gas for their vehicles? Do you have suggestions about what people should or should not do in respect to that?
Not at this time. I know that I see some gas stations are coming back online because they have power, but we don't have gas stations for the general public. We do have gas that we're trying to make sure our ambulances are staying on the road to help with that recovery. And so you've seen our ambulance and our first responders. We do have gas tanks or trucks that we have as a part of our response, our protocol as we have. And so we've been using those gas tanks to keep our first responders full, but we don't have a way for the general public to get gas. Not without the infrastructure of our gas stations. Any others? Did anything get in the chat?
Are there any questions in the chat?
Yeah. First question from Studio B, any word on efforts to open additional shelters?
Yes, we are working to open up a fifth, I guess it would be, shelter. And we at the 4 o'clock briefing, we will let you know that. As I mentioned on the call yesterday, the biggest thing that we need is to make sure we have shower facilities and toilet facilities at those shelters with some generator power for lights. Those assets did arrive in our community, so we're working to get them all hooked up and operation. As soon as that is done, we would announce where and when that shelter will be available.
From Patricia, she has a question about efforts to make communication accessible for the non-English speaking population. Community members mentioned they are still awaiting resource information. I'm aware of Rocio Quintero's efforts, but I'd like to know what other initiatives the city and county have to provide information in Spanish, especially in formats that don't require internet or cell service. And just FYI, Rocio is on the back end of this call interpreting this live in Spanish right now. So she can't be in this room to answer, or she can unmute herself perhaps and answer that. So this is Lillian Govis answering that. We have been working to with one of our subgroups in our emergency operations center to reach those hard to reach communities. And certainly language access is one of those barriers that makes it hard to reach. Rocio and a team of individuals have been going out for the storm and distributing information about what was coming and how to prepare. And now after the storm, they are working with specific community partners who target and work with Spanish-speaking populations regularly to help make those connections. Yesterday, I know she was out in some communities distributing food and water to them to get that information to them about the status of where we are in Buncombe County, how to connect, and what to expect. There's a question from Evan with Citizen Times. Some residents have expressed that they didn't receive evacuation notices in time. Does the county believe that they provided adequate updates? If not, how do you think the county should address this problem? This is Lillian Govis again, Director of Communications and Public Engagement. Leading up to this storm's arrival, we were sharing information about ways to prepare. And in fact, we, ahead of the storm's arrival, declared the state of emergency, the local state of emergency in Buncombe County, which would offer us greater access to resources on the storm's arrival. And we're calling, we had a press conference the day before, asking for self-evacuations at that time, particularly around those low-lying communities. We utilized all of our communication tactics from text messaging to traditional media to social media, and then layered on our iPause messaging. And our iPause messaging was for those mandatory evacuations that occurred. And so those are good because they reach everyone, regardless of whether you've subscribed to our regular updates. And then we were also partnering with community partners who have, and faith leaders who have that direct contact with individual communities and that trust to try to help get that information to people ahead of the storm before it hit. Of course, once it hit and communication towers were knocked out, that became additionally difficult, and a place where we really have leaned on our community partners, especially our radio partners, to help get information to people who didn't have service to phone or TV or internet. Looking for any other questions at this time?
I have a quick follow-up on my earlier question about the missing and the 600 figure. I wanted to go back and check my my notes to make sure I hadn't misunderstood something, but the 600 figure came from the Sunday afternoon briefing, and at the time Ms. Pender said that it went from 1,000 to under 600. So I'm just trying to see, now that a day and a half has passed since then, if we have a more specific number at this point.
And that reference was around the people calling in to give us the numbers. So when we got the first 1,000, what we did is we kind of cross-referenced that to what we're coming in from 911, and there were some duplicates. So that large number was cut almost down to what was fresh and new that we had not already checked on. And those are the folks that we've been going out and knocking on their doors, and we've made contact with the majority of those. So I don't have another number to say what's come in that is new that hadn't been reported over and over again.
It's Laura again at BPR. I have one more question. Yesterday we had some people contact us and say that at least one of the sites they had run out of water, and then you also there's more coming. So I'm just wondering, should we instruct people that if they're in line and the water is running out, to stay there until another batch arrives that day, or once it runs out, that's it for the day?
Until it replenished for that day. As we mentioned yesterday, we did put out a call for some box trucks. We got some folks, so we have more box trucks that can get that water from our deployment site to the actual distribution sites, so they can stay in line unless it's dark at night and we can't see anymore. But we have been replenishing those sites throughout the day.
Great, thank you.
We got a request from Studio B. When will we hear from public health officials about health concerns linked to the ongoing water shortage, storm debris, and environmental health concerns?
They are keyed up for this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Is that our last question? I'll turn it back to you.
Hearing no more questions, we'll go ahead and wrap this briefing up for now, and we'll be back at 4 p.m. Thanks to everyone on the call today, and thanks for your partnership out in the media community. You are a lifeline to our community, and we really, truly appreciate your partnership. Thank you.